Aron was an adventure climber. Today he will take on the challenge of conquering the Blue Zone Canyon. But he never thought that this would be the horror trip of his life. His hand was stuck on a rock. He used to thought he would cut off his arm in his despair. Did he accept his fate, or what would he do to get out of it? Let's watch video. Aron got up early to prepare all things to explore Blue Zone Canyon. It took 3 hours for a normal person to conquer. But Aron has set a goal to finish it in 1 hour. Early the next morning, he ride a mountain bike quickly in the desert. After crazy cycling, he also reached the side of the cliff. He locked his bike and climbed the mountain, Aron immersed in the beauty of nature. At this time, he met 2 girls who lost their way. Because he knew the way well, so he actively guided them. Moreover, he knew a very beautiful road, so he wanted to take them to sightsee. After a while, they started to feel regret. Aron teased them. He let go of his hand to let his body slide straight down. So 2 girls panicked and kept calling his name. Actually, there was a cave with a cool blue lake below. Then Aron used his voice to reply to them. Then they laughed. Then they also slid down under his chair. They played together, crawled up and down again. Before saying goodbye, they took a picture together as a souvenir. They even invited him to the party tomorrow night. He happily waved goodbye as he walked away. Aron continued to go, passed through the ravines. He intended to cling to the rock as a fulcrum to climb. As a result, the stone fell and dragged him. He was painful. Moreover, his finger was stuck by the stone. Aron tried his best to pull his hand away but couldn't. No matter how hard he tried, the stone remained motionless. He even called out the names of 2 girls but it was a remote place. It was impossible to hear that. This place was vast and desolated nearby, but there were no people living there. After he calmed down, he started to think differently. He took out all the things in his bag, then used a knife to dig thinly the stone, but he digged for half a day. The stone still didn't move. Even dropped the knife on the ground. Thinking for a while, he decided to grab the stick with his foot. He finally got the knife. He was overjoyed to pick it up. To prevent the knife from falling, he tied it with a rope and his waist. He continued digging until 12 a.m. He was already tired, but the stone didn't move. He knew that he can't get out of here anytime soon, so he drank water sparingly. After many times he tried, he finally hooked the rope to the rock. The other end of the rope was tied to his body. Then he fell asleep because he was tired. When he woke up, the sunshines reached Aron. He rose his hand to feel the warmth of the sun, and the hope brought to him. Just like as he was a child, he and his dad sat on the top of the mountain watching the sunrise. Until 3 p.m. he used the camera to record a video. He talked about his situation, and his parents' names. He has been stuck here for 24 hours. Since the blood in his arm can't circulate, it will probably die, and the amount of water and food that he brought were not much anymore. Aron thought that he will surely die here. He hoped the person who found this camera informed his parents. He started collecting his own urine in case he needed it later. On Monday, he used a climbing rope to make a pulley, and his own weight to push the stone away, but it didn't help. Now he realized his arm was bearing the weight of the stone. He tried to pull it away, but his arm was clamped even more tightly. So he decided to cut off his arm to escape. But his knife was so worn that it can only scratch his skin. There was not much water left in the bottle. He had to use it sparingly and made a plan. Suddenly a thunderclap in the sky pulled him back to reality. Then it rained heavily. The water poured and soon flooded the cliff, even Aron. When he was about to drown, the rock was pushed up by the force of the water. Finally, he got his hand out and crawled up to the top of the mountain. He drove home, but when the door opened, his girlfriend looked at him with a nonchalant expression. Actually, it was all just Aron's hallucination. Now he was not sober anymore. His mind was getting more and more dreamy. Hallucinations appeared, too. Then he laid there and waited for death. Moreover, ants started biting all over him. Suddenly, there was a light. He saw a boy sitting on the sofa, and he was playing with him. He felt like he could see the next chapter of his life. His eyes filled with tears. The will to fight the god of death once again flashed. He knew if he wanted to live, just had only way, he would cut off his arm. He used his strength to break the bones of his arm, then cut his flesh and tendons. The pain made him scream, but he still didn't give up. Sweat and blood mixed together. Finally, he cut off his arm. After leaving the cliff, and seeing the warm sun, he was happy to dance like he had never experienced the death trip. He found a puddle of water, and jumped in to enjoy the wonderfulness. He filled up the bottle, and continued on his way. Now he was exhausted. He vaguely saw a family ahead, but this time was not a dream. When they saw him, they immediately called for help. The rescue plane arrived. He knew he had been saved. 3 years later, he got married and had a child. He still loved experiencing